This episode basically has everything. Complex political maneuvering, explosive character confrontations, a healthy supply of build-up, and outstanding action. If people are still upset with this episode, then I don't know what more you could want. It's really well balanced, and I don't think there's a single wasted moment in this entire hour and 5-minute episode. Even the two scenes of Alicent hanging out in a forest and Daemon having another dream still provide some character development, especially for Daemon, in which they seem to really be punctuating Daemon's desire for the throne versus the actuality of being on the throne, because those are two very different things. The allure and drive of trying to win the Iron Throne is addicting, and this aspect is single-handedly driving Daemon. It's kind of similar to Game of Thrones, in which Robert Baratheon's best years were during the rebellion. But when it came to governing and being king, he fell into a depression, and there's more to it than that, like his lust for Lyanna. But Daemon is only motivated by his lust for the throne. He's falsely deluding himself into believing that he'll be a good king to rationalize his obsession of pursuing the throne. And what this season has really been showing us is that he's terrible at governing and doesn't understand rippling ramifications. So it feels like his character arc is revealing itself more plainly to us now through this dream, and I wouldn't be surprised if Daemon ends up coming back to Rhaenyra's side, but with their dynamic now changed. Especially since the preview seems to show Syrax and I think Seasmoke heading to Harrenhal. So that'll be a very fun and interesting dialogue scene that I'm honestly more excited for than any action we'll get in the finale. This also may seem like Rhaenyra is leaving Jace and Baela to train Ulf and Hugh, which will be spicy to say the least, as Jace has to swallow his deep-seated hatred for them and train them for the betterment of the Blacks, assuming that's what happens. Then for Alicent, this is another point that people seem to be taking issue with, but as a character, she's essentially at a midlife crisis point in which her kid just rejected her and kicked her out of a position which she found purpose in. It makes sense that she retreats and kind of soul searches, and this is an important point for her as a character. I also think there's a subtle beauty here narratively. There's all this chaos and misery going on, and then we have Alicent having a poetic and warm moment to herself. It acts as a good point of contrast, especially since this scene takes place right before Rhaenyra's barbecue. So as always, no, this is not filler, unless if she spends multiple episodes eating mushrooms in the forest, which probably won't happen. Then going into the first standout scene of the episode, we have Oscar Tully becoming a Chad. This is a perfect example of what everyone loves from Game of Thrones. The complicated, intersecting threads of motivation and allegiances between different houses, and liege lords trying to win their respect and tame them. Oscar Tully being a child makes this challenge so captivating because winning their respect seems almost impossible for his age. Which isn't even bringing into consideration that he's trying to bring them over to the side of Daemon, who has royally fucked up everything. So Oscar Tully realizing that the only way forward is to stand up to Daemon and to prove himself to be unchildlike, while also calling out Willem and dispensing justice, is perfect political maneuvering. And then even Daemon realizing what's happening and kind of going along with it was so brilliant. That brief moment of acknowledgement that turns into profound respect was satisfying. It's so far one of the best intricately complicated scenes that's navigated so well, while also having some great acting here. Archie Barnes, who plays Oscar Tully, single-handedly carries this whole scene. This is extremely commendable given how hard it is to command respect and realistically be badass at a young age. Bella Ramsey was the only person before this to achieve that goal, and I think Archie achieves a similar spot and has a great understanding of pacing and delivery of dialogue. Then this whole scene ends with such a massive exclamation mark as Daemon is suddenly met with a critical choice of betraying Willem, or stepping in to save him while also alienating the Riverlands. It's that perfect monumental choice you meet at a climax, and the way it's filmed and edited makes it seem like the dread is overflowing. It's honestly really clever how they use the sound design to emphasize this feeling by flooding this moment with ghosts screeching in the background. It perfectly punctuates Daemon's headspace, and this scene immediately being followed by the quick dream scene that calls into question Daemon actually wanting to be a king was a great transition narratively. It carries that momentum of him making a critical choice and is immediately reflected on in the next scene. Truly some great writing and directing on display here. Another major scene of note is Jace exploding at Rhaenyra. This has been kind of building up for the whole season, and there were some minor confrontations here and there, but this really feels like the major point of climax between them. Jace has been fed up with his mother throughout the season, and this is made especially worse through her privately conspiring with Mysaria behind the council's back. So it makes sense that this plot development would essentially push him over the edge to really lay into his mother. It also acts as a domino effect in which Jace also channels his frustration towards Rhaenyra, since he's a bastard as well. Rhaenyra entertaining this notion of giving bastards more power is making Jace question his position, and is making him feel insecure, while also trusting these unknown people with what are essentially nukes could be devastating. It's a great little discussion that I wish could have been extended a bit longer and debated more in depth, because there are a lot of unforeseen consequences that can happen in the future. That and the acting here is great and really sells me on Harry Collette, who plays Jace. He hasn't really had much opportunity to show off his acting chops, and I think he does a great job in this scene. He's simultaneously showing so much anger, frustration, and even heartbreak to a degree. I'm assuming his acting will be laced with a lot of subtle anger in the future episodes, as he has to work with other bastard characters. Now, let's finally go into the R-rated version of How to Train Your Dragon, and the sequence surprisingly takes up like half of the episode, between building up to this moment and the actual climax. But in terms of getting everyone here, I'm really surprised that Larys especially didn't hear about this. I'm not sure if his web of spies exclusively pertains to the Red Keep, and he isn't like Varys, in which his web is a lot more expansive. So I can understand and buy him not hearing about this, but I wish Ryan Condal actually made it to where Larys sends an assassin in. Because what Rhaenyra is doing is very risky, since she's letting in dozens of unknown people, and quite a few of them don't even have silver hair. As a side note, I wonder if those people are even Targaryen bastards and just saw the ad and wanted to test their luck in taming a dragon.
I just saw the ad and thought it looked fun.
You're in.
But I think the scene in which Rhaenyra is addressing all of these people could have been much more suspenseful if she went in with the assumption that there would most likely be an assassin within this group. Like, I audibly laughed at the moment when she told her Kingsguard to stay behind when walking up close to these random people. That's pretty reckless, to say the least. Instead, if there was an assassin here, it imbues the scene with a deeper objective of trying to investigate, discover, and identify this assassin. It could be a great detective-like scene in terms of the Kingsguard and even the audience closely analyzing the expressions of every person in the room, and we have to try to figure out the assassin in time. I know that's not really the point of the scene, but it could be happening in the background as Rhaenyra is delivering this expository speech to this group. Then for the actual taming, I think what Ryan Condal does here is essentially the best course of action. We already know who is going to tame the dragons, so if it was just a montage of everyone going up one by one and failing, it would completely lack any suspense because we already know the outcome. Logically, it would make sense that Rhaenyra would have them go in one at a time, but that may also scare everyone away as the others get devoured or burned to death. So while Rhaenyra is being pretty ruthless here and throwing everyone at the dragon at once, it's really the only correct play for her to make. She's kind of being cold and cruel, but at the same time, she's giving these people the opportunity to basically become what they view as being gods. I hope she receives a bit of scrutiny for her actions here for not being that transparent. I doubt she'll be flat out approached with a big confrontation, and this will probably create some underlying tension for future dialogue scenes. As for the actual taming scene, this far and away exceeded my expectations. The fact the set essentially opens up when we have a bunch of people run around the caverns kind of evolves the set and makes the scene even crazier. Not to mention the fact that we receive a 3-minute long oneer, which I think is longer than anything we got in Game of Thrones. But for this scene, it's so impressive because we're dealing with an active dragon for the entire time that constantly is moving around, is being dynamic, and has to be framed with precision, along with the timing and blocking of action beats needing to be perfect with something that's not actually on set. It's incredibly impressive, and from a narrative standpoint, it expertly anchors us into Hugh's perspective amidst the chaos of all the other Targaryen bastards getting killed. It's really the best time to choose to do a oneer, and a lot of the time filmmakers just want to be flashy with them, instead of it actually making sense to use one from a storytelling perspective. But yeah, using this oneer fuses already outstanding VFX, and gives us such a unique scene that we've never really seen before. It's such outstanding action, not just because of the incredible VFX and its integration with practical elements and how it's filmed, but also us not losing the emotion and journey of Hugh through this scene. I'd love to just show the whole shot uninterrupted, but HBO would get very angry, and they're already rejecting my fair use disputes. Also, the beginning of the scene contrasts really well here, with the quick cut panic and hysteria of a dragon going apeshit and killing everyone. Pretty much a perfect scene to me, and we also have Rhaenyra reacting to all of this as well. Ulf manages to get away and ends up running into Silverwing. I love how they completely have two dragons on either end of the spectrum, where Ulf manages to tame one like a drunk buffoon, while the other has to be yelled at like Jon Snow yelling at an undead Viserion. It is a little silly that Ulf ends up accidentally flying all the way to King's Landing and also gets back to Dragonstone, but we do get this absolutely epic shot that works great to end the episode on. So this overall plot development greatly changes the landscape of the black side from seeming like a losing position to easily becoming the winning position. We'll see if the blacks properly make do with these additional riders, but at the end of the day, they don't actually have any experience. So we'll see how useful they are in the upcoming battles. It may also seem like the Greens are screwed, but they still have Vhagar, which is a massive asset. Helena has Dreamfire, Darren seems to be coming soon with his dragon, and Sunfire is probably not dead and is recovering. Episode 7, Red Sowing, is great, and I think perfectly highlights how the last couple of episodes weren't for nothing. Daemon's arc and overall developments within the Riverlands needs time to breathe, so it doesn't come off as being rushed, and setting up these Targaryen bastard characters is crucial to make us have any interest in them. From the looks of it, the finale is going to rip next week, and I'm sure season 2 is going to end on a crazy high. Thank you for watching, and my Letterboxd, Discord, and Patreon are in the description. Thank you as always to my top patron Logan Farmer for being just as cool as Oscar Tully.